All right, so good evening, everyone. So good evening and welcome back to JPCE Watchdog News. This evening, we're going to navigate crisis and change. We're also going to have a briefing on the breaking stories. So welcome back to JPCE Watchdog News, where I bring you the latest and most pressing developments worldwide. And this report will navigate a landscape shaped by natural disasters, global conflicts, political transitions, and economic forecasts. This briefing will provide a comprehensive, objective overview from the devastating California wildfires to the escalating Ukraine-Russia conflict, the shifting alliances in the Middle East, and the evolving dynamics of the U.S. foreign and domestic policy. Stay in tune as we explore the facts, analyze the implications, and examine the human stories behind these headlines. This is JPCE Watchdog News, your trusted source for insight and clarity in uncertain times. So we're going to begin this evening starting out talking about the fires in California. So behind me in the background, it's a map of the Pacific Palisades fire. Right? So I just use that as a background tonight. So the California wildfires are still ongoing. So Southern California continues to grapple with devastating wildfires. Notably, the Palisades and Eaton fires, which have collectively together scorched over 40,000 acres and resulted in at least 25 fatalities. As of now, the number keeps going up. The Palisades fire originating in the Pacific Palisades. This blaze has consumed approximately 23,713 acres with somewhere around 14% containment. It has destroyed over 5,000 structures and led to significant evacuations. The Eaton fire, burning north of Pasadena. The Eaton fire has affected over 14,000 acres and is said to be 33% contained. It has resulted in multiple fatalities and the destruction of numerous structures. Also, the National Weather Service has issued red flag warnings, citing hazardous situations due to strong winds and low humidity. Residents are advised to stay indoors to mitigate health risks from smoke and ash. The entertainment impact. In the light of the wildfires, Beyonce has postponed a highly anticipated announcement initially scheduled for January 14th. She expressed her condolences to those affected and gratitude towards first responders, urging support for relief efforts through her foundation. Very good. The economic outlook. So the economic outlook for the U.S. Analysts project a stable U.S. economy for 2025. So they say, with GDP growth expected to reach 2.5%. So they say. However, inflation remains a concern, and it does. With core PCE projected at 2.8% by year end, exceeding the Federal Reserve's 2% target. The Fed is anticipated to continue rate cuts through the first quarter before slowing the pace toward the end of the cycle. Goldman Sachs maintains a bullish stance on U.S. stocks, citing economic resilience and a low recession probability, so they say. The bank advises investors to remain engaged in the stock market, emphasizing expected higher returns than other assets. My reports are objective, right? You know, it's mainly their words, not mine, right? So political developments. As President-elect Donald Trump prepares for a second term, proposed policies including tariff increases and immigration reforms under scrutiny for their potential economic impact. That's what some of the ones that don't like him are saying. Analysts express skepticism about the full implementation of these policies, suggesting that while some measures may proceed, they are unlikely to alter the economic trajectory drastically. Additionally, the Federal Reserve has indicated that future policy adjustments will be data dependent, considering economic conditions and potential changes stemming from the incoming administration's policies. Additional breaking news. SpaceX milestone. SpaceX has launched one of its Falcon 9 boosters for a record-breaking 25th time, showcasing the company's advancements in reusable rocket technology. As we sit, the United States navigates a complex landscape marked by natural disasters, economic considerations, and political transitions. Residents in Southern California are urged to stay informed and adhere to the safety advisories amid the ongoing wildfire crisis. There's a recall effort, right? There's a recall effort against Governor Gavin Newsom. In the wake of the devastating Los Angeles wildfires, a new recall effort has been initiated against California Governor Gavin Newsom. Critics argue that his administration handling the crisis was inadequate, citing failures in preparedness and response. Subjective. The recall campaign, led by figures such as Randy Economy and Dr. Howman David Hamedi, aims to collect approximately 1.3 million signatures within 5 months to trigger a recall election. They also point to broader issues under Newsom's tenure, including rising living costs, increased crime rates, homelessness, and poor fire management. I say so. This initiative follows a previous recall attempt in 2021, which Newsom successfully overcame, retaining his position with 61.9% of the vote. The current recall proponents argue that conditions in California have deteriorated since then, alleging that Newsom has prioritized regional political ambitions over state governance. However, Governor Newsom's spokesperson has dismissed the latest recall effort, attributing it to repeated failed attempts by political opponents. Nonetheless, the campaign underscores persistent dissatisfaction among certain voter groups regarding the state's leadership and crisis management strategies. The initiative of a recall effort against Gavin Newsom highlights the challenges leaders face in managing large-scale crises and the political repercussions that can ensue. While the previous recall in 2021 did not succeed in unseating Newsom, the reoccurrence of such efforts indicates ongoing discontent among segments of the electorate. It's fair. The success of this recall initiative will depend on various factors, including the campaign's ability to mobilize significant support, the public's perception of Newsom's handling of recent events, and the political climate in California. It also raises questions about the recall mechanics and their role in holding elected officials accountable versus contributing to political instability. Right? I have an idea. I think Newsom should just keep his mouth shut. Right? It's my objective opinion. As the situation develops, it will be essential to monitor both the progress of the recall campaign and the administration's response to the criticism levied against it. This scenario serves as a case study of the complexities of governance, public accountability, and the dynamics of political opposition within a state as diverse and populous as California. On to my global report. So, under the global report, political developments, January 14, 2025. So, Ukraine and Russia. The Ukraine-Russia conflict. Ukraine has launched its most significant aerial attack on Russia to date, deploying over 100 drones and more than a dozen cruise missiles targeting chemical plants, energy facilities, and military industrial sites deep within Russian territory. It's huge. Significant incidents were reported at gas storage tanks, chemical plants, and a munitions facility and the Engels Air Base. The Russian Defense Ministry claimed to have intercepted several missiles over Bryansk and the Black Sea. However, these claims remain unverified. They're unverified accounts. This escalation follows ongoing Russian missile attacks on Ukraine. It coincides with the impending inauguration of U.S. President-elect Donald Trump, raising concerns about the future of U.S. support for Ukraine. Notably, President Biden has previously authorized Ukraine's use of Western missiles for such deep strike missions. Russia, not good. Israel and Gaza ceasefire. Negotiations in Doha, Qatar, have led to ceasefire agreement between Israel and Hamas, following days of intense conflict, resulting in numerous casualties and widespread destruction on both sides. The intervention of Qatar has been instrumental in facilitating dialogue aimed at ending hostilities and restoring calm in the region. While specific details of the agreement have not been disclosed, it is expected to include the measures to evaluate tensions, to alleviate tensions and prevent future confrontations. U.S. foreign policy now. Outgoing President Joe Biden has defended his foreign policy record, asserting that U.S. adversaries are weaker than when he took office despite ongoing global crisis. In a speech to U.S. diplomats at the State Department, Biden highlighted support for Ukraine against Russia and backing Israel in the Middle Eastern conflicts. He expressed hope for peace deal between Israel and Hamas and predicted that China would not surpass the U.S. economically. Biden also acknowledged the challenges posed by closer alliances among states, but suggested these partnerships stem from a position of weakness. Russian President Vladimir Putin is scheduled to host Iranian president in Moscow this week to sign a comprehensive strategic partnership pact. The agreement aims to enhance trade, transport, logistics, and humanitarian efforts and cooperation. This visit occurs amid accusations from Ukraine and Western nations that Iran has supplied Russia with drones used in the Ukrainian conflict, allegations both countries deny. Additionally, Iran seeks advanced Russian weaponry, including the Su-35 fighter jets, to bolster its defenses against potential threats from Israel. The global economic outlook. Analysts project a stable global economy for 2025, with GDP growth expected to reach 2.5%. However, inflation remains a concern, with core PCE projected at 2.8 by the year end. We talked about this already. Exceeding targets set by major central banks. The Federal Reserve and other central banks are anticipated to continue rate cuts through the first quarter by slowing the pace toward the end of the cycle. Investment banks maintain a bullish stance. We talked about that on global markets, citing economic resilience and low probability of recession. Advising investors remain engaged in the stock market due to expected higher returns than other assets. So just reiterating that. The international landscape is marked by significant developments in the conflict zones. Shifting political alliances and economic forecasts. Stakeholders are advised to stay informed and monitor these evolving situations closely. All right, so let's talk a little more about the California wildfires. So the ongoing wildfires are a stark reminder of the growing risk, right, proposed by what people are calling climate change. Okay? Experts have warned that extreme weather events, including droughts and high winds, will make wildfires more frequent and severe. Discussions on long-term solutions, such as improving forest management and investing in resilient infrastructure, should remain a priority in policy debates. That's what I think. Both the immediate devastation, the fires highlight socioeconomic disparities, as vulnerable communities often bear the brunt of such disasters. Public officials must ensure credible recovery and preparedness efforts. The projected growth of 2.5% for 2025 reflects cautious optimism. However, inflation's persistent impact on household expenses, particularly housing and food costs, suggests that middle and low-income families may not feel the benefits of this growth equally. It's fair. With the Federal Reserve signaling rate cuts, businesses may experience relief, but the broader concern remains the wealth gap, which has widened post-pandemic. These factors could become a defining issue for the new administration. Political transition. As President-elect Donald Trump prepares to assume office, his policy proposals face significant scrutiny. Observers are concerned about the potential for escalating trade tensions, particularly with China, and the effect on global supply chains. Bipartisanship remains a challenge. Congress' ability to find common ground will determine whether infrastructure investments, healthcare reforms, or immigration policies can move forward meaningfully. SpaceX milestone with reusable rockets is a turning point in space exploration. This achievement signifies growing private sector dominance in space innovation, reducing costs, and opening new possibilities for scientific discovery and commercial space travel. More on our world report. With Russia and Ukraine conflict. With this intensifying, Ukraine's drone and missile attacks on Russia presents a strategic escalation. It signals Kiev's determination to undermine Russian war infrastructure and raises the risk of wider geopolitical consequences. With NATO's role expanding in the conflict, there are growing concerns about alliance unity, especially as some member states question the long-term financial and military commitments. Israel and Gaza. The recent ceasefire underscores the cyclical nature of violence in the region. While temporary calm is welcome, it raises questions about whether such agreements can address underlying tensions, such as territorial disputes and economic disparities in Gaza. International pressure for a two-state solution remains fragmented. Without significant diplomatic engagement from major powers, sustainable peace may remain elusive. U.S. foreign policy shifts. President Biden's final foreign policy speech emphasizes a legacy of strengthening alliances, so they say. However, with Donald Trump taking office, the tone of the U.S. diplomacy is expected to shift. Whether Trump supports Ukraine or pursues rapprochement with Russia will be a key indicator of his approach to global stability. However, his posture on China could redefine trade and technology competition. Russia and Iran partnership and the deepening relationship between Moscow and Tehran. It is direct response to the West's growing isolation of them. This alignment, a shift in the balance of power in regions like the Middle East, Central Asia. However, these partnerships are fragile. Economic challenges, internal unrest, and differing strategic priorities may limit the scope of their cooperation. The global trade trends. The mixed economic forecast for 2025 highlights interconnectedness of global markets. For instance, inflation in the US and Europe influences interest rate decisions affecting emerging markets. The focus on green technology and sustainable energy remains a key growth area, with climate concerns raising countries and businesses leading, and these sectors will likely gain a competitive edge. I think leadership is in crisis. The U.S. and international communities grapple with leadership transitions during rough periods. In the U.S., the question is whether Trump can balance populist rhetoric with pragmatic governance. Globally, the vacuum left by inconsistent Western leadership is being filled by places like Russia, China. I think Biden really did us in, okay? Right? Regardless, you can see where all the sources are at. It's all against Trump, okay? They ignore what Biden has done. Humanitarian concerns. From the displacement caused by California wildfires to the ongoing crisis in Gaza and Ukraine, the human cost of these events is immeasurable. Both these reports, the reports should highlight personal stories, right? My report needed more stories, right? I didn't get enough stories in my report. The role of technology. So technology is playing an increasing critical role. Whether SpaceX is redefining space exploration, drones are changing the dynamics of warfare in Ukraine. A social media is shaping narratives and political conflicts. Recognizing both technological advancements, potential, and risk is crucial for a balanced perspective. And I'm tired. Ooh. Guys, this is it. I'm signing off. Right? Hope you enjoyed this report. Thank you all again for following. It means a lot, right? Remember, never ever hold back. Okay? Always seek truth. Do your research. Right? Do your research. Things are going to get interesting. Okay? And look at what's happening right now. Okay? I feel something is going to happen. Like something's coming that we don't see. And I just pray. I pray for a peaceful transition on January 20th, 2025. I have a really bad feeling. So I'm praying for a peaceful transition. Love you all so much. Thank you for following. I'm out.